Horrifying. Evil mother-in-law humiliates daughter-in-law. Cruel husband throws wife out in just a towel. Emily had just stepped out of the bathroom when she heard her mother-in-law Victoria hiss venomously, "Your impoverished rural roots can't be washed away with any water, you farm girl." But the real shock came when Ethan, the husband she trusted, immediately yanked off his wedding ring and shoved her out onto the street wearing nothing but a towel. "Did you really think we're a family?" "Mom's right. You're nowhere near our circle." Ethan sneered with cold contempt. But they had no idea that at that very moment, Brandon, Emily's brother and the owner of Ethan's business, was pulling up to the house. He saw his sister shivering in the street and stepped out of the car. What happened next would obliterate the entire Harrington empire forever. And before we continue, write in the comments from which country you're watching the video, and also check if you're subscribed to the channel, as I share interesting life stories with you every day. Okay, let's enjoy the story. Emily adjusted the lace strap of her dress, smoothing out non-existent wrinkles. Today was their anniversary, a year since she became Ethan's wife. A year that had flown by in a haze, woven from hopes and disappointments. She pushed the thought away. Today, she needed to focus only on the good. Ethan was running late, as always. He didn't like it when she fussed in front of the mirror, calling it a waste of time. "Better do something useful," he'd often grumble, not realizing how those words wounded her. Emily tried to be a good wife, a homemaker, tried to match his idea of the perfect woman. But the more she tried, the further he seemed to drift from her. He entered the apartment, carelessly tossing his keys on the side table, not even glancing her way. "Ready?" "Mom's already called. Upset we're late," he muttered, heading to the closet. Emily felt everything inside her tighten. Mom. That word echoed in their home like a sentence. Victoria Harrington was the shadow looming over their marriage, constantly reminding Emily of her inadequacy. "Yeah, you look tired," Emily said timidly, hoping for even a sliver of attention. "What did you expect? I work, unlike some people," Ethan snapped, without turning. Emily swallowed the hurt. He was always like this, sharp, prickly, as if deliberately trying to sting her. She knew it was hard for him, torn between her and his mother, but he always chose the latter. The whole drive to Victoria Harrington's country estate was silent. Ethan was lost in thought. Emily stared out the window, trying to steady her trembling hands. She knew what awaited her: a cold reception, haughty glances, biting remarks. Victoria Harrington had never hidden her contempt for her, the village girl who dared encroach on her only son. As they pulled up to the massive mansion, Emily involuntarily held her breath. This house, with its tall columns and enormous windows, seemed like an impenetrable fortress, a symbol of power, wealth, a world where she'd never belong. Victoria Harrington greeted them at the door. She wore an impeccable cream dress, her hair perfectly styled. She was the embodiment of elegance and ice. "Ethan, finally. I thought you'd forgotten my humble abode," she said, not even glancing at Emily. "Mom, sorry, had things to do," Ethan mumbled, kissing her cheek. Emily stood behind, feeling invisible. She tried to say hello, but Victoria Harrington ignored her and swept inside. Ethan gave Emily a guilty shrug. Inside, the house was even more impressive than out. Antique furniture, paintings by famous artists, massive crystal chandeliers. Everything screamed wealth and flawless taste. Emily felt like an outsider here, clumsy, like a bull in a china shop. Lunch dragged on in heavy silence. Victoria Harrington spoke only to Ethan, discussing his work, future plans, social events. Emily sat with eyes downcast, trying not to draw attention. She felt her mother-in-law's scornful gaze burning through her. After lunch, Ethan suggested Emily walk in the garden. She agreed eagerly, hoping to unwind. The garden was vast and beautiful, filled with flowers, shrubs, and fountains. But even here, amid the beauty, Emily couldn't relax. She sensed Victoria Harrington watching from the window. "Do you like it here?" Ethan asked, breaking the silence. "Yes, it's beautiful," Emily replied, trying to sound sincere. "Mom loves this garden. Says it's her escape." Emily stayed quiet. She knew Victoria Harrington didn't deem her worthy to share that escape. That evening, after dinner, Emily decided to take a shower. She was exhausted from the tension, the constant guilt and inferiority. The hot water soothed her body, washing away fatigue and worry. She dried off with a soft towel and was about to leave the bathroom when she heard Victoria Harrington's voice. "Ethan, I don't understand what you see in her. She's just a common country bumpkin, no education, no manners, just batting her eyes." Emily froze, pressing against the wall. She knew they were talking about her. "Mom, why start this?" Ethan muttered. "You're just pitying her. She'd be lost without you. And that outfit? Did you see how she dresses like a provincial?" Emily felt tears welling up. It hurt, offended, shamed her. She knew Victoria Harrington was right. She was a country girl, not Ethan's equal. "Mom, enough." "I don't want to hear it," Ethan snapped. "No, I must say it. You're ruining your life. She's beneath you. Her impoverished rural roots can't be washed away with any water." Emily stood thunderstruck. Victoria Harrington's last words lashed like a whip. The ground seemed to slip from under her. She couldn't stay here anymore. Emily quietly stepped out of the shower and asked, "What's going on?" Ethan seemed to have been waiting for this moment. He shed the mask of feigned affection he'd worn all year. In his eyes, once full of pretended tenderness, now swirled cold contempt, exactly like his mother's. "Did you really think we're a family?" He sneered through gritted teeth. His voice rang like metal. "Mom's right. You're nowhere near our circle. This was just a fun diversion. Nothing more." Emily recoiled as if slapped. Ethan's words struck harder than Victoria Harrington's jabs. They weren't just rejection, they destroyed everything she'd believed in, so sincerely. Ethan dramatically ripped off his wedding ring, the symbol of their marriage, their love, and tossed it on the floor. The gold clinked dully against the parquet, like counting down the final seconds of their life together. "Grab your things and get out," he cut her off, not looking at Emily. "You're not needed here anymore." Emily's heart shattered. She stood frozen, stunned by Ethan's sudden cruelty. She watched him transform into a pathetic copy of his mother. Not a trace left of the Ethan she'd loved, kind, attentive, seemingly ready to do anything for her. "Ethan, what are you doing?" she whispered, hoping it was a nightmare. "Please." But Ethan didn't listen. He strode to the door, flung it open, and pointed outside. No regret in his eyes. "Out!" he roared. His voice cracked into a shout. "I never want to see you again." Emily couldn't believe it. He was really throwing her out like trash. All her dreams, hopes, future plans crumbled in an instant. She tried to protest, beg, explain, but words stuck in her throat. She felt utterly helpless, humiliated, broken. Ethan gave her no time to think. He grabbed her arm and dragged her to the door. Emily resisted desperately, but he was stronger. In the next moment, she was on the porch, in just a terry towel, shivering from cold and horror. The door slammed shut in her face, leaving her alone with her grief. She stood, unable to believe what happened. Tears streamed down her cheeks. It felt like the world had collapsed, burying everything dear under the rubble. Suddenly, headlights appeared in the distance. Emily ignored them, too consumed by pain. But the car approached, its bright light blinding her. A black SUV smoothly stopped right at the porch. A tall man in a dark coat stepped out. Emily recognized him instantly. It was Brandon, her older brother. Brandon had come to congratulate her on the anniversary. He'd always been quiet but ready to help. Since childhood, he'd protected her from hardships, filling in for both parents. Brandon silently scanned his sister, wrapped in just a towel. Her face was wet with tears. He asked no questions. He saw everything and understood without words. Rage flickered in his eyes, something Emily rarely saw. He silently approached, hugged her tightly, trying to warm her with his body. Emily shivered, but her brother's embrace gave her strength. Then Brandon pulled back, looked into her eyes, and nodded. He said nothing, but Emily understood. He was here to help. Without a word, Brandon headed to the house. He strode up the porch and rang the doorbell. Emily watched him like a savior. She knew he wouldn't abandon her. The door opened, and Ethan appeared. He clearly hadn't expected Brandon. Confusion flashed on his face. "What do you want?" he asked, trying to keep his arrogant tone. Brandon stared silently. His gaze was piercing and cold. He didn't answer, he just pushed Ethan aside and entered the house. Emily stayed on the porch, shivering from cold and nerves. She didn't know what was happening inside, but she trusted her brother. She knew he'd do everything to protect her. Inside, Brandon spoke with Ethan and Victoria. Emily didn't know what about. She sat in her brother's car, trying not to look at the house where she'd once dreamed of building a family. The shivers wouldn't stop, despite the heater's warmth. Fragments of contemptuous, hateful phrases pulsed in her head. Victoria Harrington's words stung like wasps, but Ethan's silence hurt most his indifferent gaze as he shoved her out. 10 minutes stretched like hours. Finally, the door flew open, and Brandon emerged. His face showed no emotion, just inner focus. He silently opened the car door, and Emily, without questions, moved to the front seat. Brandon circled the car and got behind the wheel. He said nothing, just started the engine, and the car glided away. Emily stared out the window at passing snow-covered fields and sparse trees. Her heart ached from hurt and humiliation, but a new, unformed feeling stirred inside. It was more than anger or resentment, perhaps a premonition of change, realizing the life she'd known was over. The next day, Ethan tried calling Emily, but her phone was off. He sent messages full of remorse and excuses, but they went unanswered. Ethan felt the ground slipping away. He knew he'd erred, but couldn't fathom the consequences. Meanwhile, Emily was at the notary's office, filing for divorce. Brandon waited in the car. He didn't pressure her or ask extras. He was just there, ready to support. When Emily exited, Brandon silently opened the door. She sat and leaned back, closing her eyes. She felt tired but relieved. The first step to a new life was taken. "Where to?" Brandon asked. "Home," Emily replied. Brandon drove her to a new apartment. It was small but cozy, in a quiet city area. He'd bought it a year ago, sensing things with Ethan wouldn't work. He knew Emily was too kind and naive to survive in a world ruled by money and power. Emily entered and looked around. Everything was furnished with taste and care. Brandon had thought of it all: furniture, dishes, bedding, towels. The fridge had food, a vase of flowers on the table. Emily felt a lump in her throat. She turned to Brandon and saw warmth and care in his eyes. She rushed to him and hugged tightly. "Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for everything," she whispered. "No need, sis. You deserve better," Brandon replied. He pulled back and looked into her eyes. "Rest now. Tomorrow, we'll figure out what's next," he said. Brandon left, leaving Emily alone in the new apartment. She went to the bedroom and lay down. She felt empty, but free. She knew challenges lay ahead, but she was ready. She had her brother's support, a new home, and faith in herself. That evening, as Emily prepared for bed, the phone rang. It was Ethan. She hesitated before answering. "Emily, please hear me out," Ethan said, voice trembling. "I know I acted horribly. I was wrong. Forgive me." Emily was silent. She didn't know what to say. "I love you, Emily. I can't live without you," Ethan continued. "You don't love me, Ethan. You love your mother's money," Emily replied. "You're too weak to be a man. You couldn't protect me from your own mother. How can I trust you?" "I'll change, Emily. I'll prove I'm worthy," Ethan begged. "Too late, Ethan." "It's over," Emily said, and hung up. She turned off the phone and tossed it aside. She didn't want to hear his voice or see his face anymore. She wanted to forget him like a bad dream. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but images of humiliation and betrayal replayed. Only toward morning did she drift into uneasy slumber. The next day, Emily woke feeling a new life beginning. She got up, showered, and dressed. She decided no more tears or self-pity. She had to be strong and prove her worth. She had breakfast and called Brandon. "I'm ready," she said. "What now?" "Meet me at the office," Brandon replied. "I have something interesting for you." Brandon's company acted swiftly and ruthlessly. In business circles where connections and reputation meant everything, the blow hit precisely. Ethan, not yet grasping his fall's depth, got the first notice. Termination of all contracts with his firm. Reason: substantial reputational risks. He tried contacting Brandon, but calls went unanswered. His seemingly unshakable world crumbled before his eyes, But that was just the start. The domino effect kicked in. Brandon's company, with massive regional influence, began canceling contracts with all subcontractors linked to Victoria Harrington. Her empire, built over years, started cracking. Business partners, eager to collaborate yesterday, now avoided her like the plague. Phones went silent. Former allies' eyes showed only fear of tarnished reputations. Then, like a bolt from the blue, security camera footage from Victoria Harrington's estate leaked online. No comments, no explanations, just the video. Video of Ethan throwing Emily out in just a towel. Video that spoke louder than words. The impact was instant and deafening. Social media exploded. Public opinion, previously shadowed, burst forth, crashing down on Ethan and Victoria Harrington with full force. Hashtags demanding justice topped trends. Outraged users didn't hold back. Shame, barbarity, punish them. Victoria Harrington, used to admiration and impunity, faced this wave of hate for the first time. Her phone rang nonstop with journalists, but she answered none. She locked herself in her office, trying to process it. Her painstakingly built reputation was crushed in an instant. Business influence evaporated by the minute. Ethan tried justifying himself, giving interviews, but every word fueled the fire. His attempts to play victim sparked only scorn and mockery. He lost everything: respect, job, reputation. He was left alone with his shame. Emily, meanwhile, felt confidence returning. She saw justice, though delayed, prevail. She no longer felt like a victim. She became a symbol of fighting for dignity and fairness. Brandon, as always, was by her side. He supported her without extra questions. He was just there, ready to help any time. He saw Emily transform, awakening strength and assurance. He was proud of her. Soon, Emily got a life-changing offer. Brandon proposed she become a partner in his company and oversee a new project, building an IT center. Emily didn't hesitate long. She saw it as her chance not just to prove her value, but to help those needing it most. She knew rural life's hardships, finding work, realizing potential. She wanted to change that. She aimed to give her fellow villagers education, jobs, and decent lives. She dove into work, using all her knowledge and experience to create a modern, efficient IT center. She personally spoke with each worker, hearing their wishes and ideas. She wanted the center to be more than a workplace, a true home for all who worked there. Emily often visited, overseeing construction. Opening day was a real celebration. Guests from various regions arrived. Journalists, businessmen. Emily stood on stage, seeing happy faces, filled with pride and joy. In her speech, she talked about believing in yourself, not giving up on difficulties, always striving for better. She spoke of remembering roots and helping those in need. She said true happiness isn't wealth or power, but love, friendship, and respect. That day, Emily first felt she didn't need to prove anything. Her dignity spoke for itself. She'd succeeded not through connections or money, but her mind, hard work, and kindness. She proved a humble village girl could achieve anything with self-belief and fearlessness toward goals. She gazed at the horizon, sun slowly setting over fields, her heart filling with warmth and gratitude. She knew more trials awaited, but she was ready. She had loved ones' love, friends' support, and faith in herself. Emily smiled. She knew this was just the beginning, the start of a new life full of opportunities and prospects. She was ready for it. She was ready for the future, because now she held the final word, and that word was success. Success earned through her own efforts and self-belief. Success she'd use to make the world better.